Hello, Cubs fans, and welcome to a brand new edition of Cubs on Tap. I am Ron Luce, joining you all on this soon to be wet, well, at least for me, soon to be wet Thursday evening. I think it's already a little rainy and stormy for my co-host here, Mr. Nick Hudson. Nick, how you doing, buddy? What's up? Happy weekend, because the weekend starts on Thursdays.
Yes. Happy weekend, Ron. Happy weekend to all you Cubs fans out there. I am doing fantastic. I am ready to talk about another series W. As the title says, they are allergic to sweeping, but we got the series win, and that's all that matters.
Ain't that the truth? Today's episode title is Sweeping Allergies and Stinky Socks, and you'll be able to put all that one together as we go through this show here today. But Nick, it is a Cubs off day, so we are here to reflect on the Marlins series at hand, talk a little bit about the upcoming White Sox series over the course of the weekend. A lot of pressing topics, I think, that we've come up with that'll make today's show very interesting, especially when we get to Wednesday's game, as that is obviously the most recent bit of information that we have to discuss. Scott from Iowa saying here that Matt Shaw is on a plane to Chicago. Hashtag I pray.
Interesting.
And Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. Hey, everyone. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday to you as well. Nick, I was on the show on Tuesday night with Rich. We got to talk about the walk-off, which was awesome. We got to talk a little bit about Monday's game, which was also a W for the Cubs. So I want to turn over and give you that opportunity to do the same thing, my friend.
Yeah.
Thoughts, reactions. How did it feel watching, the Cubbies start off the week with 2 wins in a row, especially in walk-off fashion on Tuesday night?
Yeah, it felt great, man. The first game, felt a lot better. Just overall as a fan watching. That's what you got to do against a team like the Marlins. You just got to take care of business. Ray went out there and just shoved. And then your offense, went out there, gave you a chance to win it there. So that was great. Tuesday night, different story. They could have lost that game very easily there. It was very close. But like you said, they walked it off. I actually predicted that walk-off here in my apartment. I said, Justin Turner's done this a lot to a lot of teams in these moments. I know he looks washed up right now. I know I've been frustrated with him, but he's going to rope one down the line. And I said that to my girlfriend, Brittany, and sure enough, he did. And Horner coming around second base with that big old grin on his face on his birthday. You can't get any better than that. And that's why I went with him as my dinger pick the next day, which didn't work, but that was why. So that was awesome. And, Ballesteros made his debut. It was good. It wasn't as he would probably write it up, but here's the thing. In that moment in the 9th, he legged out that first base ground ball there. It wasn't a double play. That was a huge moment. So if he would have gotten doubled up there, I think that would have been really devastating for him. But overall, because he made it first, he basically helped them get towards that win. It made things a lot better. But yeah, I'm happy with those 2 wins. Happier with the first one. Second one, you're gonna get into that. But against a bad team, I would like to see them just handily beat them next time. But you can't get everything you wish for, right?
Yeah, hey, it's one of those things. They don't ask how, they ask how many, and that's one of those how manys that you'll take, especially when we've seen a number of games over the last handful of years go against the Cubs in kind of a similar fashion. So it's kind of good to be on the other end of one of those. You mentioned Ballesteros, an 0-for-4 debut, but I will take this as the one kind of silver lining of his debut is that there was no strikeouts. He didn't look overwhelmed. And Scott put it really perfectly on Tuesday's show in the comment section, noting that he didn't look overwhelmed. There's an adjustment, right, to major league pitching happening. He's seeing the ball, though. He's making contact. Once he gets kind of into that sweet spot a little bit more often, I think we'll start to see the hits come with a guy like Moises Ballesteros. And who knows how long we'll see him, because it's only the 10-day IL for Ian Happ, not 15 days. So
yeah.
We can see Happer back pretty much as soon as next week. So
that could be in the back of his head too. He's like, I don't have a lot of opportunities. I'm gonna just be swinging. And that last at bat, he took the first pitch, which of course was a great pitch to hit, but you could tell he was making an adjustment there. So I agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch when he is next in the lineup. Was not in the lineup on Wednesday because it was a lefty on the mound. Weathers took the mound for the Marlins, so a very right-handed, I guess, playing lineup. I guess for lack of a better term. Nonetheless, Dansby Swanson led off, which was kind of strange. PCA moved down to the 5 hole. Justin Turner was over playing first base. Birdie was in the lineup playing third. So a lot of right-handed bats trying to take advantage of the lefty-righty matchup. And it didn't necessarily go the Cubs' way. So that's kind of what we, I think, can pick up pretty much today's material. Obviously, wanted to get your thoughts, Nick, on the games earlier in the week. But
Definitely.
Cubs lose on Wednesday night, 3-1 to the Fish, a game that they probably could have won. And from here, Nick, we are talking from two different points of view, right? You were watching the game on television. I was at the ballpark. Of course, I was there for the loss. Rich and Juice got to see wins on Monday and Tuesday. That's neither here nor there. Take it with a grain of salt. But a beautiful night to be at the ballpark, though. Let's not get it twisted. Weather was perfect. It was a great evening. We got to meet Will, who is a good friend of the program. Break even Tom in the comment section routinely on our shows. Got to meet him in person, chat with him a little bit. He was gracious enough to buy me a beverage, so certainly appreciate that. Got to meet friend of the program as well from Cubs on Tap. So people that are routine listeners with us, you will probably remember Mr. Jack McMullen from not this past offseason, but the offseason before the 2024 season. He joined us so graciously as, at the time, a member of Just Baseball and the play-by-play for the Indianapolis Indians, which are the AAA team for the Pirates. Fast forward to a year, and he's still with Just Baseball, but now he is the radio voice of the Miami Marlins. So it was cool to get to catch up with him, just ask him about the job and what the travel was like. And so it was really cool to catch up with him. And he was asking how our Cubs on Tap days were going. And so certainly a good friend of the program. And it was really cool to be able to chat with him before the game. I took the game in by myself. By myself, I say that in quotes. I physically went to the game alone, but of course, met up with good friends out there in the bleachers. My tie guy, Rachel, everybody knows the great left field clan. So it was a great night to be at the ballpark, but a lot of not so great things, especially from the offense. A lot of guys left on. You and I talked about it in the pre-show, Nick. Nico swings at a really bad pitch late in the game for a strikeout. Seiya Suzuki looked really bad in his 2 Ks. Made up for it with the home run ball. He got the Cubs on the board. But, you know, when you look at last night's game, again, kind of back to our topic or our title of today's show, right? The sweeping allergies. A, this team doesn't know how to sweep people. B, they've been really bad on Sundays and Wednesdays, which are habitually when series are closing. And that was pointed out by Will as well. I call it the case, the Sunday scaries, but he also pointed out they got a little bit of the Wednesday scaries as well. And that came to fruition last night. What was happening with the offense? Do you think it was just the lineup being turned over on its head because of the weird pitching alignment? Like, what do you think was the reasoning for some of the bad at-bats we saw?
I didn't love the lineup. I get what Craig was trying to do with the matchups there. And I do think a lot has to do with the fact that they're just this year, for some reason, when the series are ending, they look like a different team out there. To me, they just look different. And it's puzzling because they come out of the gate so strong and they look great. Situationally, they're doing everything correct. Just good overall baseball. And a team like the Marlins, you can't lose 3-1. You got to put up more runs than 3 runs. You should be able to win that game handily. And the thing is, Nico Hoerner being in that spot, I think Dempster said it, and it's been awesome having him on the broadcast, to be honest. But
Indeed,
he was the best hitter to be up there with the bases loaded in that spot. And to strike out like that on that pitch, it just was really, really – it just took the wind out of me, which I know it had to have taken the wind out of them because you're right there. You figure you're going to at least tie this game. Base hit, easy. And then, you know, it doesn't happen. And then the rest of the story is written out. They don't get it done. So they just look like a different team when they are leaving or getaway games and all of that. It's really odd. It's puzzling to me, but I think they're going to bounce back. The great thing about this team is that offense is very consistent this year. And that's something that we're not as used to just relatively over the last few years. It's been up and down, but it seems like this year they have a very consistent way about them. So that's great, but I'm hoping that they can come back against these what do you call them, the White Sox? And
The Stinky Sox.
yeah, the Stinky Sox, and just beat the shit out of them. Just go out there and put up a great offensive performance and do it all throughout the series. But yeah, I think it gets in their head, and the lineup to me just didn't feel right. I like PCA up top there.
I do as well. I think, especially on a day like Wednesday where you do have the lefty matchup, there isn't as much, I don't want to call it a sense of urgency, but you have the series in your back pocket. I think that goes through the minds of some of these guys. You also see that a guy like Ian Happ is missed right now in the lineup, right? Because the depth of the lineup then becomes challenged. And, without Ian Happ in the leadoff spot, you don't have consistency necessarily on base for somebody who, like Kyle Tucker, for example, when he's up, or say a Suzuki. Now you're moving PCA around the lineup a ton because of the injuries and, kind of different approaches each place that he's hitting in the lineup. So it goes to show, I think Ian Happ being appreciated as much as he should be and just how much it throws the lineup off. To your point, though, I believe it was Tuesday night when I was listening to the game. They were talking about the offense and how when you're this deep offensively, even when a guy's cold, if somebody else is hitting and kind of carrying a line lately, it's kind of been Dansby Swanson, it's been PCA, it's been a little bit of Seiya Suzuki, right? Those guys are able to pick up the others who aren't hitting because Kyle Tucker, for example, has had a rough last 30 games.
Yeah.
Very rough last 30 games. Now, granted, he's still a quick math off the top of my head, almost a 780 OPS player in those last 30. It's like he's still been good.
Yeah.
He hasn't been outer worldly, but he's been solid. But it's really the last 15 and then the last 7 games. In the last 15, he's slashing 211, 318, 421. So it's slugging still above 4. But then in the last 7, 115, 207, 346. So, it just goes to show that, maybe it's a good sign while Craig has his kind of finger on the pulse of the lineup. Maybe we move Kyle Tucker around, right? Maybe it's not burying Kyle Tucker in the 7 hole, but it's maybe he's hitting 4 instead of 2. And maybe you hit a PCA 2, or maybe you hit say a Suzuki 2, or maybe you hit, whoever 2, just again to kind of switch things up. But Nick, while we're on the topic as well of Wednesday's game, I don't know if you saw the clip from I believe it was 670, the score, talking about wanting more out of Jameson Taillon. Darren's got a good comment here on it.
Yeah.
He says, a lot were giving Taillon hell for giving up the homers, but he only gave up 3 solos. You should win because that's still a quality start. 6 innings, the 3 earned runs. At one point in the game, I think as late as the 5th inning, Jameson Taillon had 3 hits against him, and they were all the 3 solos, and that's it.
Yep.
7 Ks. He really didn't walk. I shouldn't say he really didn't. He didn't walk anybody. The Marlins had 1 walk the whole game, and that was off of Porter Hodge late in the game.
Yep.
He was really, really good, but the offense didn't show up. And apparently Kyle Stowers is the best player in baseball.
Yeah.
Because the guy was just unloading on everything. Even the fly out people thought was going to leave the yard.
Yeah, and I did too. So,
and again, the basis of that argument on 670 was, well, you need more innings out of your starter. He was only 84 pitches. It's like, well, yeah, but did you not see that Kyle Stowers was next up in the 7th inning?
Yeah, exactly.
Righty lefty late in the game when he's already hit him twice. It was, I think, a good move by Counsell to go to Pomeranz, and Pomeranz mowed through them 1, 2, 3, and gave you a chance to win. So I at least think that's a load of horse shit. Which personally, and I know there's a lot of people out there that aren't going to like this. I don't like sports radio for that reason, because I think it's all just a bunch of jabronis talking about sports when they don't ever try to think analytically through something. It's just rah, rah, rah for sake of rah, rah, rah.
Yeah.
But do you feel differently
I do not.
on Tyone's outing?
As a baseball purist, I'm going to say this. It is 2025, and pitchers are not going to go 8 innings, 7 or 8 innings. That's just how it's going to be. If you get 6 innings, 3 earned runs, quality start, that's all you can ask for there. And I think that pushing it, as you said, with Stowers right there, what if he gives up another bomb right there in that spot? And then you're kind of out of reach. I mean, 2 runs, it's easier than 3. It's a bigger hump, bloop and a blast versus putting together a rally. So I think it was a good move there. And yeah, I agree with you about radio personalities. I think it's a lot of rah, rah, rah. And a lot of it it's kind of a boomer mentality of, the starting pitcher needs to go deep into the game, as deep as possible. It's 2025. And I'm saying that I'm pretty much a baseball purist. I don't like the new rules and things like that. But I agree with the way the game is moving. Bullpen is becoming a very crucial part. And when you know that you have the game on the line, and Craig thought that this is the game on the line here, you pull that trigger. And I think it was a good move.
And on top of that too, Nick, I think what a lot of people aren't taking into consideration is when you even boil it down to a lower level is, to your point, right? There's a lot of new rule changes in the sport of baseball. The pitch clock, your pitcher is working harder for those 6 innings. You're not going to see as many guys. No, you're still going to see guys go deep now and again. It's not like the Cubs haven't had somebody throw 7 innings, right? Justin Steele did that regularly. Shota Imanaga does that pretty regularly. Like, these guys can still do it. I think Jameson Taillon would have went back out there for the 7th inning had Kyle Stowers not just gotten 2 bombs off of him. Yeah. Like, if this is the 8-9-1 hitters, I bet you any money in the world, Taillon's at least getting to see 1 batter. Yeah, at least getting to see 1, maybe 2. You know, and let him hover around that 100 mark, and he gives you 6 2/3 or 7, and everybody's happy and cheering and clapping. But it's playing the matchup. Kyle Stowers is responsible for 2 of the 4 hits he gave up that were for homers. Why in the hell are we going to sit here and be upset about the fact that Craig Counsell was trying to keep the game in reach? And again, gave the offense an opportunity late in the game with bases loaded to do something about it, and they just couldn't. So again, it's a team sport, right? Like it's everything coming through, but Jameson Taillon did just fine when it's all said and done. Hank says here really quick, Nick, that the quality start by Taillon cannot be overlooked. He gives your team a chance to win, but leading the MLB in home runs is worrisome.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's having a hard time spotting pitches is what I'm seeing. Mm-hmm. Some of his pitches are flat. Sometimes he totally loses location. So I think that definitely plays into the fact that he's giving up a lot more bombs. But like Hank said, you can't overlook the fact that he gave you a chance to win the game, and that's huge. They should have won. They should have swept that. They should have swept the series. I mean, plain and simple.
Yeah, 100%. They really should have. Overall, though, the bullpen pitched very well. Again, they kept the Cubs in the game. The offense had chances, just couldn't get it done. I will say this. It was nice to see Tucker get the double the way he did, just kind of the awkward bloop swing. Like, it might take something like that for Kyle Tucker to kind of break out of the little bit of a slump he's in, and I hope that's what it means moving forward. And, maybe he gets a friendly Wrigley bomb on Friday, and we'll talk a little bit more about what I mean by that as we progress in the show. But maybe that's where things will go from there. Darren says here, if Fergie Jenkins was in his prime, he wouldn't start. They'd use him to piggyback 3 pitchers a week. It's also hard to say because too, like, it just the talent level was so different. It's so hard to compare apples to oranges. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a different era. But yeah, I mean, Fergie Jenkins pitchers of that era were different. Like, it was just different. You were expected to pitch 7, 8, 9 innings on a pretty regular basis. but you were also only throwing 90 at the max.
Mm-hmm.
There was a couple guys maybe throwing in the mid 90s.
And they took their sweet ass time too.
Yeah, right. I'm telling you, like, I think that's severely overlooked. Is like to pitch with the pitch clock, you need to be in incredible athletic shape. Pitchers of back in the day, you could be, no offense to him, but you could be Bartolo Colon and go pitch 7 innings because you could take a minute in between pitches if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
Not that guys did, but it's just the sake of, again, it's a different time. The game is different, genuinely. Like, this isn't even so much of like, oh, the talent in the game's different. The physical game itself is different.
It feels different. If you've been watching, I mean, I'm 27 years old. If you've been watching baseball since you were a little kid, it feels different. And I think that is why the pitching clock gets overlooked, or the injuries and all that. Because it is good for the game. I have to admit, I like the way it moves and everything's good about it, whatever. But things are going to get overlooked because it's shaving time off, and that's what they wanted. So you're right. That's a great point. Is you have to be a great athlete to go out there and boom, boom, boom every 30 seconds.
I think that's why what like Justin Steele does is so impressive. That like he's regularly pitching 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
And does it with no issue. But again, that's just a guy who's not only in great shape, but there's also something to be said. There's good starting pitchers, and then to me, there's bulldog starting pitchers.
Yeah.
And a bulldog is just, it's that guy who, like, I don't care how he does it, but they just find that stamina to hang in there and just dominate as long as they can in the game. You know, Steele is that way. I think Shota Managa is a little bit of that way.
Yeah.
Obviously, John Lester was that way back in the day. I would argue Jake Arrieta was very much like that the first time around.
Yep.
They dig their cleats in and they're like, all right, here we go. I'm going to shove it up your ass for 7, 8, 9 innings, however long I can go.
Yep.
And I'm going to just take care of business. And that is what it is. So again, I don't say it to come off as an asshole. But it's just like I think baseball is the one game where you can say the sport is physically different now. Like the NFL, you could make a little bit of argument. There's been some rule changes, but largely the game is the same. Concepts and things like that have changed, obviously, right? The game evolves, but the physical sport itself is largely the same. Basketball, the same way, right? Up the 3-point line, obviously, but like basketball is still basketball.
Yeah,
it's changed again, but like the rules haven't necessarily been the reason for the game changing, right? Same thing with hockey. Like the rules aren't the reason the game has changed. Speed is the reason the game has changed in hockey.
Yes.
In baseball, the rules have physically changed that like tangibly impact the style, and the way the game is played. So
in the field,
it's something that we'll keep monitoring, of course, but it makes for. It makes for something interesting, man. It really does.
It really does. I will say my last point here is that extra inning rule, I can't stand it. I hate it. It is not baseball. I hate that fake runner at second so much. I know there's a lot of like strategy you can do, whatever. I get all that. I miss the 18 inning games. I miss all of that. I do. I know I get it, but man, it sucks.
I'll tell you right now, I don't miss the 18 inning games. Truthfully,
I do.
And you know what? What I think it is. It's not so much from like I don't want to watch more baseball. It's from then your team is totally fucked for the next day.
I get that. Yeah,
that's the part, right?
Sure.
I think that's the part.
Yeah.
Like I don't need to watch. No offense to him. Maybe he's a really good athlete, but like I don't need to see Drew Pomeranz take a bat and come up the pinch hit. You know what I mean? Like
I miss it. I miss it so much, man.
I don't miss it at all. It's just
I do.
Such a different world.
Maybe for other teams, I miss it. Right, your own team.
Sure.
Put you in a bad position. I get that, but
but I'll tell you what. I don't like the ghost runner. You know what I think actually would make it more interesting? Instead of putting the ghost runner at second, put him at first.
Now you're talking. Yeah.
He's not in scoring position.
Now you're
right.
Talking. Yep.
And it's still an unearned run for the pitcher.
I can get.
But like the only way you're guaranteed to score a run is if you hit an extra base hit. right? Like that's the
Yep.
only way that happens.
Exactly.
Whereas on second, right, a single brings that guy in more often than not.
Exactly. Yeah.
At least if the ghost runner's on first, then then you can also set up a double play easier, right? So like I think the ghost runner on first can make things really interesting if they wanted to move it along. Darren said here the ghost runner's BS. If they bring in this golden bat deal, I'm gonna puke. I agree with that. I think that's stupid.
It's the dumbest thing. Yeah,
I don't like that
with Rob Manfred. I'll be honest.
Yeah, Rob Manfred's.
We could have a whole week,
the whole
of
episode
shows on that. Probably a whole week of shows.
Here's why Rob Manfred sucks. Featuring Cubs on Tap,
and everyone would agree.
Everybody would agree. Absolutely, everybody would agree. Oh, the rain is starting to fall in my neck of the woods now. So. Happy wet Thursday. Speaking of Thursday, we didn't have baseball today, Nick.
Yep.
But I do want to talk about the fact that it would have been a perfect day for the wind to blow out at Wrigley Field. Absolutely perfect day because it was windy as hell all afternoon, and it was hot, which would have meant the wind would have been blowing straight out to dead center.
Yep.
All you would have had to do was put the ball in the air, and it's got a chance. There's something to be said. I love those Cubs games. As frustrating as they are for pitchers' ERA, they're still so fun, though. Especially when you got a lineup like the Cubs do right now with as many boppers as they have. Like that's the kind of game I want them to play because you look at last night's game, right? The weird fog rolls in. And so I have a story about the fog because I drove down the game. So I drove down Lakeshore Drive to get up to Wrigley. And I got to the bridge right near Navy Pier. Okay. It's pretty much like Crown Point Tower for those that are familiar, Ohio Street Beach, that area. And all of a sudden, this like haze was just hanging over the city. And originally, I thought something was on fire. Like, I thought it was like smoke.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, we keep going. And I realize it's just this, like, because people are just acting normal, right? There's like, it's not like, oh, people are covering their mouths like it's smoke. Like everybody's just acting normal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, it must be this weird fog, which would make sense, right? We've had the water's still very cold, a quick, heat up, science, bitch. And then we get boom. And then we get, when it's all said and done. What made it really interesting was as soon as I turned off Lakeshore and got about 2.5 blocks west, it was gone. It was just over the lake. Which I thought was really strange. And I was like, okay, whatever, Chicago. Weird shit is bound to happen when it comes to weather.
Yeah.
Then that fog, the wind shifted during the game. So it was blowing in. It was blowing in more from like left field, kind of scraping across to right field. It shifted and was blowing in then from right. That's when the fog moved in. And I think it was just all the fog over the lake just steamed in and just settled its way into the ballpark, which made for a really cool ambiance, and it kind of cooled it off, and it was pleasant. But I wonder how much of that affected the game because like Nico Horner's swinging at a pitch that he would never swing at. Like, was the bit like it's hard to tell from your seats if the van like the visibility's bad unless you're like right behind home plate. But like it begs the question, did that fog maybe mess with, the vision and things like that, and players being able to take advantage of a situation like they could have? Ooh.
It's very possible. I mean, if anyone's ever hit a baseball, it is freaking hard to do. And you add in any factor of just the batter's eye where you're looking something out there flashing or something, it screws with you. It's hard to pick up the ball. So, I mean, like you said, we don't know if that was the case, but that swing by Nico was very uncharacteristic. Let's put it that way.
Indeed, very uncharacteristic. So it's a shame we didn't have baseball today as a result. Of course, we get weird weather for the first 3 games against the Marlins, but the Cubs aren't done at Wrigley because, Nick, on Friday, 3 games with the Chicago White Sox. Now, I will say, I know people are like, well, the Sox, they suck. They need to take advantage of the series, and I still agree with that. They absolutely do. But I don't think we can look over the White Sox the way that we would have last year.
No.
Because, or even in April, I think if this game was played the second week of April, sure, beat them up and call it a day. The White Sox are 500 right now for the month of May.
Yeah.
They're 7-7. Not that much worse than the Cubbies. We did the math. The Cubs are 7-6 for the month of May.
Mm-hmm.
So these White Sox are playing good baseball, and they've played some respectable teams. Now, they played the Marlins. They took 2 out of 3 from the Marlins. They played the Reds and took 2 out of 3 from the Reds. They did lose today, however, 7-1 in what could have been a sweep, which Cubs, we appreciate the White Sox beating up on them.
We do.
They took 2 out of 3 from the Astros earlier in the month, but they lost 4 in a row to the Royals and got swept. Now, again, Royals are a good baseball team, but this is kind of a hit and miss White Sox team.
Mm-hmm.
And especially on Friday, you get Shane Smith, who's arguably their best pitcher. You get Jonathan Cannon on Sunday, who's a good pitcher. Burke will pitch on Saturday. But for the Cubbies, you get Horton making technically his first start because Keller started the game for his debut. Boyd and Ray. To me, that's probably the 3 guys I would want against this White Sox team this weekend. And you're going to get one day because Jay asks here, what is the wind doing on Friday afternoon? I would expect it to be very similar to Thursday. It's going to be about 85 degrees and sunny on Friday. So it should be warm. It should be blowing out. It could be different down by the lake, but it should be blowing out. Saturday and Sunday, on the other hand, it's only going to be like 60, high 60s.
Mm.
So I fully expect the wind to blow in Saturday and Sunday. So tomorrow's the game that if you're looking for homers, we'll probably see some. And then you might have played some small ball on Saturday and Sunday to get it done. Now, granted, as long as the wind's not howling in like it was this week, it wasn't really howling in. Like you can still get the ball out of the ballpark if you hit it hard enough.
Yeah.
It's just a matter now of, whether or not that happens. Speaking of balls leaving the ballpark, I will say this. Those 2 homers last night to left field from the Marlins, both almost killed me.
Oh, really?
Both almost absolutely nuked us. The first one kept carrying and landed about 3 rows behind us and probably about 4 people to my right. And then the Stowers homer landed. It looked like it was coming right at me. I was ready to try to barehand this thing.
That's
only
crazy.
for it to keep carrying to my left. But it landed like in our row and then like bounced, and it was chaos. Beers were spilled everywhere. It was unbelievable.
I'm sure.
So, almost got absolutely annihilated by the home runs off of the Marlins. But that's neither here nor there. Just a random thought that I wanted to share. So, Nick, with the White Sox series on the mind now,
Yep.
what are you expecting from the Cubs? What do they need to do to win another series against their crosstown quote-unquote rival?
Yeah, I mean, I think you put it best. This isn't the 2024 White Sox. You can't overlook them. They're not world beaters by any stretch of the imagination. But you got to go out there and you just got to be the team that everyone's saying that you are, right? You have to live up to that label that people have been giving you all this time right now. And I think that you put it best. The wind's blowing out tomorrow. Get it started with just a crooked number up on the board. Get some homers. I hope Kyle Tucker, as you said earlier in the show, can get one in the air and just get it out just for some, just to break them out of that funk. Hit one off the scoreboard even. Be great. Scoreboard blast.
That'd be sweet.
And I'm excited to see Horton build on what he had against the Mets. And the thing is, when you come in after an opener is very like, well, right. If it works, it's really great. If it doesn't, it looks really bad. But you don't need one against the White Sox. So go out there and just shove and be you. And hopefully the offense has his back. I want to see them just alleviate that pressure for him, just so he can go out there and feel like he can just perform, just throw strikes. And, you can do that when the offense has your back. You feel like I don't have to be as so nitpicky and as careful. And when you are that way, you could start to get yourself into trouble with walks and things like that. So I'm hoping he can be aggressive if the offense is aggressive. That's the number one thing, aggressive. Just be aggressive. throughout the whole series. Don't stop on Sunday. Just the whole series.
Yeah, no Sunday scaries in this one.
No, let
we'd
us
like,
take care of that.
yeah, we'd like to see a sweep when it's all said and done. I'm right there with you, man. I'll tell you what, especially with Cade Horton, I'm a little bummed that I won't be able to watch the game. I'll actually be in the car, so I'll be listening to the great Pat Hughes and
Ooh, yeah.
Ron Coomer on the radio for that one. But I hope he just goes out and just builds on what he did against the Mets. He had a good outing against the Mets, all things considered. Build on that. And it's not as dangerous or deep of a lineup that you have to play compared to the Mets, right? You're not opening the game against Lindor, Soto, and Alonso, right? That's not what you're having to face. It's, still a respectable lineup. It's still a big league lineup, but it's a group that is going to be a little bit easier to manage. Hopefully the offense can explode on Friday. I'd like to see them be able to put together some of that small ball again that we saw in April. It's been a lot of slugging their way to runs lately. I would like to see, more doubles and singles and some more station to station, get aggressive on the base paths, things like that. But I agree with you, man. Be aggressive. Be aggressive against this White Sox team, and things should go really, really well. Darren says here it'd be cool to see Ron throw back a homer as long as the Cubs still win a game. I'll tell you what, with my arm strength, you don't want to see me throw a home run ball back. I would be lucky to get it to like the left fielder. Genuinely, I have no arm strength.
No way. Really?
I can't throw shit. I can't throw a football. I would throw my arm out if I tried to huck it to the infield. Like I would legitimately probably throw my arm out. I have no arm strength.
I know I could get it to the infield. I actually have, for those that have never seen me, I am short, but man, I do have an arm. I'm blessed with that. I do have an arm. People are like, wait, what?
Yeah.
How? I could get it to the infield.
It's funny. My dad was a catcher and has a cannon, and I got none of that.
Yeah, none of it.
None of it. I got absolutely none of it. I can promise you right now, if I played baseball, I would be guaranteed to play first base because I don't have an arm. I don't. Like, I could get it to home plate, and that's about it. So I would play first. That's literally what would happen if I was to play baseball. It's tragic, but what are we going to do? Nick, we've pretty much touched on everything that we had to touch on today. I want to open the floor to you here, my friend, as we close this thing down and look ahead to the White Sox over the weekend. Final thoughts.
Yeah, I'm excited for them to keep continuing this momentum. I really want them to get a sweep here. I know it's greedy, but I think it would be really, really good if we could just get a sweep, build on it. I know they're scared of sweeps. I know they're allergic of sweeps and everything like that, but get one.
I agree. Go get one. Excuse my ridiculous face. I had my mic muted. Big boom of thunder. That's what that was. So
I thought you were scared of the sweep. I'm like, that's probably the way the Cubs look when they think about sweeping right now.
Maybe sweeping allergies. You know what I mean? No. It is monsooning out my window right now, so I'm just taking.
Oh no. We may have lost Ron. Well, I think we lost Ron. Yep, it looks like we did. But that's okay. I can end the show. He might come back here.
I'm back.
Oh, he's back. I said it. And he came back.
I'm on my hotspot because our power went out. Yeah, the power surged. Not all power. It's firing back up now. It just surged. It's like surging on us right now. It keeps coming on and going off. So I'm on my cell phone is powering my laptop right now, so we can get through the rest of this show. Hank says here the Matrix got me. No, the Matrix didn't get me. Just a thunderstorm got me. Nick has the frame of a baseball player. Ron, the old lineman, he is. Absolutely. That's where all of my athletic ability came into play, is via offensive line play. Nick, my final thought before we wrap this thing up is congratulations to you, my friend, on finishing up your degree.
Oh, thank you, sir. I very much appreciate that. It's been a long road, but I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Yep, I appreciate it. Yep.
That's what matters most. We're happy for you, man, and I saw your picture of celebration over the weekend, so it was
Heck yeah.
cool to be able to see that. And I know
Thank you.
you're pumped about it. And again, we get to see more FaceTime with Nick Hudson too as a result,
Heck
which
yeah.
I will never be upset about here at Cubs on Tap. Well, as we round things out, I want to remind everybody, Cubs on Tap, 1 of 2 shows here covering your Chicago Cubs. Be sure to follow our friends over at the Dingers Podcast live on Mondays at Dinger Cubs on the socials. You can catch them right here on the On Tap Sportsnet YouTube channel at On Tap Sportsnet. There, like, subscribe, but you know the drill, and get all of the alerts for when all of our great shows go live. Golf on Tap was live yesterday with a great guest. I think it was yesterday, if not 2 days ago. We were live on Tuesday night. And all the other great shows are going to be firing back up here after some breaks following the conclusion of seasons and NFL draft coverage and everything like that. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, we got it all. Follow us at Cubbies on Tap. And you guys know the drill. At Loose on Tap, at Nick_on Tap. Follow the rest of the boys as well. Juice, Joey, the whole gang. You can find those in the podcast descriptions is where you can find all the links for the boys. OnTapSports.com, at OnTapSports on the social media. Tap Sports. Go and check out what's on tap in Chicago sports. And you can send your friends who like the Sox to our friends, and they can all be friends. You know the drill and how that goes. Nick, this was fun, man. Hey, the Cubs won. I got this sick beauty of a hat too at Wrigley, which I wanted to show off on tonight's show because this thing was screaming my name. I have the jacket from CubsCon to match, so I'm super stoked to add this to the collection. But Nick, what do you say, buddy? We get out of here the only way we know how it Cubs on tap.
Yeah, fuck those pesky Cardinals.
Yeah, fuck the White Sox too, like Jay says here, and let's go Cubbies.